This is where people talk about communication being such an important part of the relationship. And I'm always like, what does that really mean? And part of that is being able to say the thing that you want to say. A huger part, in my opinion, and yes, we'll go with huger, is the idea that the other person has to hear what you're saying. And then everybody can deal with the tension and the emotions that are coming up inside them. When the defensiveness starts to come up, the you don't trust me might start to come up, or like you're just slowing things down, and then really remembering to honor those parts. Hello and welcome to Married and Magnetic, the place for entrepreneurial couples who want to stay happily married.
In each episode, we have real conversations with ordinary couples doing extraordinary things, sharing achievements, everyday joys, challenges, and the mindset and tools that make love the greatest strategic edge.
We are James
and Angela Mitchell,
a real-life married couple. She's a counselor,
and he's a coach,
parents to 3 kids,
and co-founders of Love Intentionally. We've ridden the highs
and lows
of building businesses while working hard to stay happily married. We've lived it, done the work,
got the t-shirt,
and are here to help you do the same.
This is Married and Magnetic, where love, business, and growth collide. Let's dive in, y'all. Welcome, y'all, to another amazing episode of Married and Magnetic. We are so grateful that you are here. We are your hosts, James
and Angela,
and we're the Mitchells with Love Intentionally. And today we are so excited to get to hang out with our guests and hear their story, Jason and Michelle Stele. If you are curious about what it's like to scale your small business that you have started with your spouse, what it's like to hit that next level of success, how to manage that, if you're curious about also what life might be like when you're stepping into that empty nesting while you're also at the confluence of that stage in life and business, then this is the show for you. Go ahead and stick around. We'll do a quick bio and then we're going to dive straight in. For Jason and Michelle, my wife and I are both career technologists, executives who decided to build a New Jersey authentic bagel shop from our bagel baking hobby. They cracked the nut on baking at high elevation because Colorado Springs is over 7,000 feet above sea level. Bagels do not play well at this elevation, and they figured out how to sell over 8,500 bagels a week to over 27,000 customers a month. And they are at an awesome stage in their business and in their life where they are growing and going. So with that, welcome to the show, Jason and Michelle. We are so grateful to be here and to share an amazing conversation with you today.
Thank you very much for the time. We're excited to tell our story.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay, so let's start with, what was your entrepreneurial journey? So kind of where did you start career-wise, and then what maybe inspired you to go, hey, let's do this business thing and let's do it together?
Have at it, Michelle.
So Jason and I, very different personalities. I've always been the super risk-adverse conservative one, so that I've generally worked for a big business, very into job security, while Jason's had the opportunity to be a little bit more risk-taking and looking for ways that he can express, and he can obviously talk more about this, his desire to build products from the ground up. My focus has more been, again, large scale government type work where they're multi-year projects and seeing them through their milestones. Jason, I don't know if you want to talk about your kind of background.
Yeah, I'm the gambler in the family. I think it helps with the creativity. It gives me an outlet. So I have had some corporate jobs which have kind of helped shape the early stages of my career for the most part. I've helped run fraud prevention for Medicare, and I lost a whole lot of hair doing so over 3+ years. But I'd say the most passion I've had in my career is around, I just got a call at the same time.
Entrepreneurship at its finest right there.
Yes. So the most passion that I have found in my career is around startups, whether I've had the opportunity to build teams within large companies, colleges and universities, to doing true, being a co-founder of tech startups. So, having the opportunity to build a bagel business with Michelle has just been major fuel to my fire.
So I think your configuration is fairly typical. We work with and talk with a lot of couples where one is more the entrepreneur, the other is more that security seeker, wants the steady job and the safety net and maybe some benefits. Those are nice. And so since opposites tend to attract in that way. So then what inspired you to go into business together? Like, how did he convince you, Michelle, that this was a good idea to take this leap?
Yeah, I think just candidly, we always said we were never going to work together. We, not only from a job, perspective, he is also an extrovert to my introvert. And just even things around the house, we don't always see eye to eye in like how to go about achieving those, by building furniture or cooking dinner or things like that. So just never really imagined that we'd go work together. So really, I think what combined us with this, or what, we had a shared passion for the feeling that we wanted to give people when coming to our shop and eating our food and things like that. It was very important to us, this idea of family, and giving that experience, because while, we grew up in different, parts of the country and things like that, we both were very close with our grandparents, both had a lot of traditions and culture centered around food that was shared between us. And then we had to kind of figure out how to work together for that shared goal.
That's excellent. Yeah, I mean, Michelle touched on our reputation just with ourselves that, IKEA furniture was something that we just shouldn't have been doing together, and it would get worse and worse over the years. We'd finally, cross the finish line, but we used to always joke, we can't work together. And so, but we're in our 50s now, and we're a lot more patient, we're a lot smarter about things. We can take a step back. And when we realize that we had the opportunity to kind of make a little dent in the universe for ourselves around food and baking for boosting happiness at Bella's, it just made a lot of sense to just take that leap of faith and go for it. And we agreed, we kind of found this very workable structure in the bagel business. At this point, we have over 22 people working for us. Michelle is in charge of the back of house, the kitchen, the food, the recipes, all the ordering. And I'm in charge of the front of house, which is working with the customers and the marketing and stuff like that. And whenever we disagree, we just take a step back and say, yep, that's a back of house thing. And then I just, hands off. That's your swim lane. And it really has been very effective for us, because otherwise, yeah, we would definitely be the type. We're both very passionate, can get very heated. And this is just a great structure for us.
So before you stepped into actually working together, was there like a proper sit down that you did, a framework that you went through? How did you step into that?
Yeah. I mean, for me, I've always run businesses with crawl, walk, run kind of as that mantra. And so it's not like we just went from, working for others to just, hey, let's go build a very expensive brick and mortar restaurant. On the crawl side of things, Michelle baked 100 bagels, and that was sold at our local farmers market right after the COVID lockdown release. Like, we got motivated to do something like that, and we were very pleasantly surprised that within 2 hours they sold out, and then we just started rinsing and repeating week after week, and did that type of thing for about a year and a half. We were selling our bagels online as well, just to our own zip code, and dropping bagels off every Saturday morning. And we built up a nice book of business. And so
But I think,
yeah.
to add to that, I think even from the beginning, trying to figure out which our roles were going to be in that. So he did the website and the marketing and the communications with, the customer. He would actually go do the deliveries of them, and I was more the behind the scenes, like making the dough and doing all of that. And so I think we had to figure out early on what each of our strengths and weaknesses were, and then play into those. Again, he's very, he does, by definition, we are extroverted introvert. He gets energy from other people. I lose energy from that. We very much had to find the roles for us that fit that. Back when we were doing farmers markets, again, he was sitting at the booth, doing that stuff, while I was behind the scenes doing the baking and and then as we transitioned into having the brick and mortar, same thing. Like, I was doing the recipe development, the plans for all of that kind of stuff, working with our consultants on those type of things, where he was focused again more on anything that was going to be outwardly facing relationship type things. So I think that's what you're getting at. Like, it didn't matter when we were first small. We We did, I think, have to have a conversation about that where we sat down together and said, like, okay, I'm going to do this because that's what I'm better at. And you're going to do that because that's what you're better at. And then we'll have to lean on each other at times. Like when I have busy regular work, how do we make sure that we still cover down on some of those items when we're sick or things like that? I think that's where we've had to have those kind of conversations and had to negotiate a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're highlighting something that I'm realizing is quite a pattern that I've seen in a lot of the couples we've interviewed for this podcast or worked with, is that opposites tend to attract, right? There is a thing to that. And for a lot of people, like you said at the beginning, Michelle, is kind of like, how could we ever work together? We're so different, right? And then the couples that end up working together successfully, I feel like are able to use those differences to complement each other, right? And as I sit here and think about it, I'm like, well, yeah, if because we're the same way, we're very different in how we approach things. And so if James and I had the same strengths, we would have a lot of gaps in our business, right? And so it's actually really beneficial to our business that we have different strengths, because then we're able to play to those and divide roles appropriately. But what I also heard you say is you had the same vision. So it's like the vision kind of needs to be the same. And then the roles, it can be really beneficial to have differences and different strengths and weaknesses because you can use those appropriately. And then also within that is this like explicit communication of the roles. And that's where we fell short when we started working together.
So short.
So short. We had those determined really well in how our household was running. We knew who was doing the grocery shopping and who was paying the bills, and we had all the roles divided in our marriage. And then we started working together, and we were really trying to do everything together, and it was not working. And it was like, oh, silly us. We know this. We need to sit down and really talk about the roles and make the implicit explicit. And it sounds like you all did a decent job with that.
We did, I would say 9% of the time it works. But occasionally we do step over into the other person's lane, and then that doesn't always go well, right? Like if I want to comment on how the front of house is going or something like that, there's some defensiveness, to that. Or if, he's talking about recipes and things like that, I'm like, hey, wait a minute, that's my thing. So we're not perfect at it. We do sometimes step on each other a bit. It's how we handle those, I think. Sometimes we handle those well, sometimes we don't. It's just, I think, like everything else in life, that we learn from it to figure out how the next time it happens, how could we do that better or different? Because it's inevitable that it comes up, especially, like I said, I spend most of my time doing another job full time. So Jason spends most of his time at the shop. So it is inevitable that it's going to bleed into the back of house stuff. And how do I respond to that? Sometimes well, sometimes not.
So these things come up, right? And we're not going to get it right all the time. But you're working together. You have one child that's left the house. Your youngest is a senior in high school. You're moving towards this empty nesting. Your business is growing. What do you think is vital for your marriage to stay connected and intimate?
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely something that we work at, and we need to remind each other. We're both incredibly busy. Michelle travels a ton now that, she's at the level she's at. And I could be doing 80 hours a week at the bagel shop if I wanted to. And, I'm now doing a lot less. It's running kind of on its own. So helping to kind of work myself out of that job allows me to have more bandwidth to, come knocking and say, hey, Michelle, like I tried last weekend, I want to go see a new movie, see that Hail Mary or whatever that movie is, Project Hail Mary. And we have to very deliberately make time to do that kind of thing. Otherwise, we're just working and eating and sleeping, and that's just not enough. And you get caught in that rut. And we have, we've been in a rut in the past. Now things, I think with anything in life, as you get older and wiser and more patient, that's like the real key. For me, patience is everything. That when you could be more patient, then I can be more patient if Michelle is not on the same page as me wanting to go see a movie because she may have some big deadline, on Monday morning, and I'm trying to go to a movie Sunday night, that kind of thing. So in the past, I would have taken a lot more offense to that. Like, hey, I'm trying to, work on a relationship and offer, let's go on a date. But I can understand better now. And yeah, if I only had a time machine, I think things would have been easier, at least in my head, with all the noise back in the past.
Yeah, I think for me, and again, candidly, it might be because I'm the woman and I'm just wired different and I'm the mom. I have less guilt as the kids have gotten older about, like, I didn't travel as much when the kids were younger, right? So that we could be present and be with them. And so that actually, I think, was a calculus into us opening the business, that we felt that they were at a stage in their lives that they didn't need us in the ways that they used to, that we could feel that we could give the time for this and it wasn't detracting from us being parents as well. So I think timing wise, it did work out in several different things. Like the kids were old enough that I didn't feel like we were going to leave like a lasting mark on if we weren't, working 100 hours in the bagel shop and other things. But also from that perspective too, they have a different understanding of this, and can share in the concern of how's the business going and thinking about the future. And, they'll ask us about retirement and things like that, that obviously if they were little, it would be a different situation. So it's been good and bad. So yeah, we have given ourselves now another job to do when we could have sat back and said like, hey, now we can kind of coast because we know what our regular jobs are. The kids are older, self-sufficient almost. We added complexity and may continue to add complexity, but I don't know, that's just kind of where my head was at with it too, that it's just, I felt better about doing it. It was part of the calculus of not only financially but also what it was going to do to the family, if we were going to open this business together.
So just taking it a layer deeper, you're ready for the date night. Do you wait until you feel that like kind of missing her, or like for those couples out there, they're in a lot of the same position as you, like what is the way that you get the most success at prioritizing your marriage over everything else?
Yeah, I would say, a reminder of like who we are as a couple, for me at least, comes around dinner time. Michelle typically is making some great food, or maybe we went out because we're just too tired. That's like the reminder time that, okay, let's just turn off the noise for now, even if it's for 20 minutes or something, and let's just chill and be present. To me, that is the first place that I'm able to kind of just turn off the noise and just, truly ask, how is your day? And care. Things like that.
Yeah, I think we're better about, because again, our day to day is sometimes unpredictable. Like, we're not so good about the like, hey, this weekend, let's go do this. Cause I don't know what we're going to feel like this weekend. Like, I'm going to have to do a little bit more of an active role, like, specifically this weekend at the shop. So I know I'm going to be tired. I don't know that I'm, it's exciting to think about like, let's go get dressed and go out to dinner or whatever when life gets in the way. So we try to think about, we're not big planner ahead people, especially Jason. He's more spontaneous. So sometimes how we'll do it is like we'll go on like a weekend trip or something like that, where we'll just completely get away and do that and kind of, shove it all into a couple days, instead of this idea of like every Friday night we have to go do something, as it just doesn't seem to work well in our lifestyle and our schedule. Because yeah, any given week it's kind of crazy, and I don't know that we can be that predictive.
Feels like that nightly dinner. How many nights a week do you get to share dinner together?
If I'm not traveling, we will generally eat every night together. Mostly with our son too. We'll try to once a week, also with our daughter and her boyfriend. Maybe sometimes adding Jason's dad into it as well. Because again, like that was a big thing with me growing up. We always had dinner together, the family did. So it's more an exception that we're not, or like I said, if I'm traveling, we won't obviously eat together because that's physically impossible.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up, and I'm surprised it hasn't come up on the podcast yet. I feel like this is the first time we've talked about family dinners, because it's something we strongly believe in too. We have dinner, unless there's something major, we have dinner every night together as a family. And for us too, as the kids started to get older and get cell phones and stuff, it was also cell phone. We have a little zone that the cell phones go in. So it's a little box. It's like a antique suitcase is really what it is.
I
But
think we
we
tried
throw
that
them
a
in there.
long time ago, and yeah, we all stink. He's the worst. Jason's the worst at it, actually.
Yeah. So we put our phones away, and dinner time is our time to connect as a family.
Yes. I'd I'd say a newer dynamic for us. You know, we had the roles for many, many years where Michelle would cook, I would clean, period. And we'd all eat and all benefit. And now, for the last year or so, our son, who's only, 17, 18, he cooks.
Sometimes, yeah.
Definitely changed the dynamic with the family dinner because now we're both just like looking at each other like, and he wants to clean too. He does it all.
I love this.
And we go with it because I think he just likes that sense of accomplishment. So we just go with it. And yeah, for the most part, that works. But that has taken some getting used to from breaking from 20 plus years of those other roles.
Yeah, the other thing we do is sometimes we'll listen like on NPR, the news, and like we've actually had conversations between, it's usually the three of us because my daughter doesn't live at home anymore, about like what's going on in the world and what do we think about it and stuff like that. So yeah, we do try to make that an important time so that we're mostly, it's not every day because there's stuff that comes up, but for the most part, I think that's what's I think going to be weirdest when Jacob goes off to camp in college is that it's just going to be Jason and I, and are we going to continue to do like the making dinner, sitting down together? Like that's going to be weird. So
Different transition.
I hope we are. I guess I haven't really thought about it. Because yeah, we've had our kids have several years in between them, so they're about 7, 8 years apart. So we've had kids for a long time, and so this is the first time that it'll really be where they are both off doing their own thing.
So you've got your maintenance schedule, which is a lot of that weekly or that daily connection over the dinner table. And then you've got those kind of medium connections, right? Sometimes deeper, but just getting away for the weekend and just saying, we're going to put everything down, and it can be really helpful to get out. So just for anybody listening, it's having those maintenance daily connection points and then having those, whether spontaneous or planned, but those deeper connections that get to happen, which are also going to be super helpful because you are coming up on the empty nesting season of life. How are you feeling about that?
So I am really looking forward to it. I mean, we love our kids, of course, and we love our family, but we have had, I'm just going to say, an absolute shit ton of responsibility for over 25 years, period. And, we've earned it. We have earned the time to just kind of have a little bit of a break from that, And so I don't know what's in store for us because we do keep piling on. Our business together is growing. Michelle's role in her world continues to grow as well. So it's not like she said before, we're not in that let's just coast and enjoy our success. We're still building right now. So yeah, I guess in 10 years from now.
Yeah, I mean, and realistically, our daughter right now still lives like 10 minutes away, so it's not like we never see her. And then I'm going to continue to worry. Our son is going like an hour and a half away, so it's not like we're never going to see him. And I will, because again, I'm just the mom. I'm going to worry about him and stuff. But yeah, it'll be more like the little things and the day to day that will feel different, I think, of what the new normal is. But we'll never stop worrying about them and wanting to hang out with them and stuff.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I feel like kind of like going into business together and needing to talk about like what's this going to look like and who's doing what roles. Anytime you transition into something new, it's like that has to be figured out again. So, like you were saying.
Yeah, Jason's going to have to go back doing the dishes again that he's
exactly
been doing.
Yeah.
Heard it here first, people.
Yeah. Yeah, but just figuring out with the transition to empty nesting, what are the new traditions, right? Or the new routines? And so are we still sitting down for dinner every night together? Yeah, who's cooking, who's cleaning, that kind of stuff. Or even, for us, and we still have 2 of our 3 kids at home, is even with one less kid, we've had less running around at night doing kid activities. We still have a good bit, but with each time a kid leaves the house, I feel like our responsibilities for driving children around in the evening gets less and less, right? And so then it's like, what do we want to do at that time if we're not chauffeuring and soccer practice and all the things? Like, do we want to play a game together? Do we want to watch a movie together? Like, what are our new habits that form when it's just, when we have more time for just the two of us?
Yeah, I think if we didn't have the bagel business, that would probably, because it is strange. But now we've added on top of that it's such an early morning for Jason that on top of all of this other life changes happening, like he's out by 8 o'clock realistically at night, sometimes earlier than that because he's up at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. So we've also had to adjust to that in our lives where when he asked just honestly, like about the movie thing, it's like, are you going to be able to go to a movie that's, at night for 2.5 hours or whatever it is, because just physically it's different when you have a new world that is so early in the morning. So that's had to be an adjustment for us as well. And I think we have to figure out, what do we do? Is nighttime going to be like he comes home and we eat and he goes to sleep and then I'm doing other stuff because I have a different schedule?
I think
those things we still need to figure out.
Yeah, if I could jump in. So to be fair to this whole concept of an empty nest, and yes, giving up responsibility, that is true. However, Bella's Bagels is our baby, and the reality is, so we're not an empty nester. We may not have, another person living with us, but we tend to have that as a very, the topic is very at the forefront of whenever we're together. We're talking about what went on that day or what's coming with catering or just some interesting customer stories, things like that. So, yeah, I guess our true reality is we do have another kid named Bella's Bagels, and that's where we are.
Our history has been when things get a little bit predictable, or the same, we tend to add something to it. Like we'll get another dog or we'll do so. And then we opened a business, because we can't just be doing the same thing all the time. We have to do new and different stuff. So yeah, we decided to open a business knowing that was going to be at our age, something that was going to take a lot of attention, kind of like a baby again, right? That we were going to have to nurture it and make sure it grew and things like that, when we could have just been the easy way out and said, like, this is a hobby and forget it. We knew what we were signing up for, and that definitely went into the calculus too of, hey, if we really want to retire in our 60s, like, what is that going to look like? Are we going to be financially stable to do that if we're opening a business at this point? And, so yeah, we tend to add this and do this to ourselves, but this isn't unusual. Like I said, over the years, it's been like, hey, this seems kind of normal now. What else can we add to it to make it not normal anymore?
I was going to ask, do you consider Bella's Bagels to be your baby? Your business is your baby, and yes, so thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes into that, but also, yeah, it's like, this is what we're going to get to spend our time doing, and it's fun, and we're in charge of this, and we get to grow it. You started this all on your own. You don't have to answer to anybody else. Bella's Bagels is now super successful, and it's growing, and you are getting to capacity in your stores, and so when that happens, you start to attract other people that see your success, and so that's led to some opportunities to look at scaling and growing this to the next level or even to 10x this thing. How do you decide, other than this feels normal and we're looking to kind of shake things up, this is good, we're set, we have space, let's do something different. How did you two talk about and are talking about whether or not to scale?
So it's a very, very active conversation right now because
very timely, I guess is a better word.
Very timely. We are busting at the seams on almost a daily basis, knock on wood somewhere. And so we know by, maybe getting another location or expanding in some way that would relieve some of that, but it's going to just tack on a tremendous amount more bandwidth needed to continue the smooth operation and success. But we're both builders, and it's just in our DNA. Like Michelle was saying, that when things kind of get steady state for long enough, we got to shake it up. And back to that, how I, at least for myself, how I help run and build businesses, crawl, walk, run. So from the overarching bagel business for us, we are very much in a strong walk at this point. And so I think we're confident enough that we can successfully scale it, but do it in a very deliberate way. Because yes, we've been approached many a time by investor types, franchise types, and we aren't the ones that are just going to say, oh, that sounds super great. We'll take that money, we'll do this, and let's go all over the country, because then we know we would lose a lot of the us in that and a lot of the success in it too. So when we talk about scaling, it's how do we do it our way that has kind of brought us to where we are today with Bella's, and that's really that is the talk of where we are.
Yeah,
right
we
now.
want it to be, so I think also just our other professional experience helps us look at it in a different way, which has been a benefit to us. But we want to do it where it feels genuine. That we even had to have a conversation when some of these things came up of, wait, let's go back to the very beginning. Why did we do this to start with? We did it because we wanted that family feeling, and we knew that we're taking a risk, and even if we broke even, with it, which would still be a positive, right? In the restaurant industry, if we were giving something to the community that we felt like we had growing up, that was going to be something for us. And that it really wasn't about the money. It was really about that shared vision way back when. So we have to sometimes reset ourselves to that, to say, we can look at this from a money perspective and try to figure out the fastest way to make a buck, but that really wasn't why we were doing it to begin with. So whatever we do to scale, it does need to be authentic to us, where we feel proud of it, and that we're willing to, because that's also the reality of, we have built up processes in place, that we have backups for stuff and people and things like that. But in the beginning, it wasn't like that. Like if somebody called in sick or somebody decided not to show, that meant that we were getting up in the morning and doing it. And we have to be able to be willing to do that again if we're going to scale, because again, we want to own it, and we want it to be us. So those are the kind of decisions that we have to talk about, is how can we do it where it feels authentic to us, but that we also know that what we're signing up ourselves to do
Yeah,
with any decision.
the reality of our situation, and I like to joke with people about this, is Michelle is my sugar mama. She has been like steady Eddie in a successful career for a long time, allowing me to kind of do a little bit more of the gamble. And I think, yeah, to her point, our goal with our shared business is extremely genuine, and the bottom line profit piece is not number one. And that ended up being a very positive side effect, but it allows us, it's grounded us, as opposed to neither of us have a job, neither of us have income, let's go do a certain business, and then there's a lot of extra stressors there. In this case, we had the one strong income that if everything went south or off the rails with our own business, it still would have been okay. So I think that's taken some pressure off a lot of ways, and it's allowed us to truly be genuine to ourselves.
So it sounds like you're on the same page. You have a shared vision, shared North Star. It's amazing. Where are you not on the same page, or could be more on the same page right now?
I would
Yeah,
say typically it's about the pace of wanting to grow or scale. And again, it kind of goes back to our personalities. I'm much more deliberate, methodical with stuff, want to think through things, and Jason's like put $10 on the pass slot, you know what I mean? Like, let's go for it type of thing. And so sometimes that can cause us to rub each other the wrong way, I guess, because he's ready to sign and ready to do stuff, and I'm like, hold on, we need to really think about it. I guess that's probably the biggest challenge with it, that like I said, I'm just tend to be more risk adverse with things.
yeah, agree.
We literally had that scenario yesterday. James was ready to pull the trigger on something, and I was like, we have not done any research on this topic.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to overdo it. You know what I mean? I want to be reasonable about it, but to where I feel confident. Like, it's really about that confidence level. If it's in the low percentages, then I'm not ready for it. It's got to be probably up in, as much as we can control, in some kind of confidence level that I'm comfortable with, that we've at least know enough, and are willing to take the risk.
That's line two.
Yeah.
Let's go. Come on. You
Yeah.
know, and it comes down to this is where people talk about communication being such an important part of the relationship. And I'm always like, what does that really mean? And part of that is being able to say the thing that you want to say. A huger part, in my opinion, and yes, we'll go with huger, is the idea that the other person has to hear what you're saying, right? And then everybody can deal with the tension and the emotions that are coming up inside them when the defensiveness starts to come up, that you don't trust me might start to come up, or like you're just slowing things down, and then really remembering to honor those parts. And then when that happened with Angela and I was like, yeah, okay. I was a little like, this is my lane, you know, so that came up a little bit. Also, yeah, you know what? Every time I've trusted Angela, every time I have followed her intuition on things, it works out. That's like an every time.
Yeah, and we're not always great at it, right? We tend to both have the knee-jerk reactions that are like, why did you say that, and get defensive. And it's sometimes, again, we have to remind ourselves to take the step back and actually have an adult conversation about something instead of just jumping into like the emotions of it. If somebody knows how to do that all the time and is perfect at it, that would surprise me. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say to add on, it's for the big stuff, whether if it's business, investing significant dollars to where it could really hurt. Those are the things we know how to play well in the sandbox. It's the little stuff. It's the little, I may say, I really want to do X, like a social media post, and a lot of times I just do it and ask for forgiveness. But there will be a time something is like the hair on the back of my neck is standing up, and I'm like, I better say something to Michelle, and then I can count on it that she's going to say, no, don't do that. And that's where we do this, because it's a very low risk type of thing, but that's where it's okay for us to not play well in the sandbox. We allow each other to do that because I think we kind of get it out. But for the big things, like I said, major investment type of stuff, we know how to, I guess, argue in a better way. And
yeah, we've had to have those conversations, that did start coming up not that long ago so Jason handles all of our marketing and stuff like that. And he's made some decisions on advertising that I'm like, wait, what? What are we doing? And how much are we spending? And he says, just let me do it. This is what I know to do. And so while it doesn't feel great, I do have to let go of some of that, especially because like I said, I'm not there every day, seeing, to me, it's like, okay, then I'd like to understand what the ROI of that is, and to see if that really was wise. I'm willing to go with it if that's what you think is right, but let's make sure that we're not just continuing to put good money after bad type stuff. So yeah, there are little things like he's mentioning that he'll be like, just let me do it. And it's hard, but I have to just let go. And sometimes I'm good about it and sometimes I'm not. So
full practice. And what a beautiful marriage you've cultivated. You're coming up on 29 years next month.
Yep.
What a great time in your life and in your business. Really excited to see what happens with Bella's Bagels.
If you're in Colorado Springs, check out Bella's Bagels. Yeah.
Maybe more soon. We'll see. What a cool opportunity to be at. I got 2 rapid fires for you. First one is, what's your favorite bagel right now in your shop?
for me, it's onion.
I think everything.
Everything, yeah. And then, what are your pet names for each other?
We're both Poppy. We spell it differently.
They spell it different, yeah.
Cute.
It all comes from some song, I don't know, back in the 90s.
Will Smith, way back when, said like, "I puppy," and then we just started calling each other that. So yeah.
Love it.
Thanks,
Love it.
Will.
I know that song.
We're actually thinking of a new LLC. It could actually be named Poppy LLC.
Yeah, we'll
But
see.
now I just told the world that, and yeah.
Somebody's going to go get it and try to sell it to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get that web URL. Awesome, y'all. Well, thank you for sharing your hearts. Thank you for sharing what's worked for you, what hasn't, really, and also what you're working on. I mean, these are the deeper conversations about choosing to be in business with our spouse that we are just so grateful to get to bring to the world, to the audience. A lot of people don't talk about this stuff, so we commend you, we see you, we honor you. We're so grateful that you're here. If this is your first time to listen to an episode of Married and Magnetic, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If this brought somebody to mind as you were listening to it, please share it with them so we can literally share the love. If you've been listening for a while yet, haven't left a review, we would absolutely love and appreciate that. And until next time, y'all, may your life and love be magnificent.